You won't believe how cruel an empath can be when he's angry with a narcissist, old Stoic wisdom. You won't believe how cruel an empath can be when he's angry with a narcissist. We often think of empaths as the gentle souls of this world, the ones who feel deeply, love fiercely, and give endlessly. They are the healers, the listeners, the ones who seem to carry the weight of other people's pain like it's their own. And when we imagine an empath going up against a narcissist, we expect them to respond with compassion, patience, and understanding. But what happens when that same empath becomes truly angry? What happens when the person who always gives second chances finally runs out of forgiveness? What happens when the one who never lashes out decides enough is enough? What happens when the softest heart and the kindest soul turns cold? Because here's something most people don't talk about. An empath, when pushed too far, can be just as ruthless as the narcissist they once tried to understand. Not because they've become cruel, but because they've finally seen through the mask. In this video, we'll explore the shocking truth about how an empath behaves when he or she becomes truly angry with a narcissist. We will reveal why they stop giving chances, why they start exposing secrets, and why they suddenly speak with a clarity and strength that surprises everyone, including themselves. This isn't about revenge. This isn't about becoming toxic. This is about awakening, about reclaiming power, about refusing to be manipulated any longer. If you've ever wondered what happens when an empath walks away from a narcissist, or if you've been on the receiving end of one, you're about to see a side of empaths you may have never imagined existed. So if you're ready to understand the transformation that takes place when an empath gets angry at a narcissist, keep watching, because knowledge is power. And once you understand how empaths fight back, not with cruelty, but with unshakable clarity, you'll never underestimate them again. But let's go deeper. Let's walk through exactly what happens when an empath becomes truly angry with a narcissist, because it's not what most people expect. When someone talks about empaths, the image that comes to mind is usually one of peace, calm, and boundless compassion. Empaths are believed to be highly sensitive individuals, people who absorb emotions like sponges, who feel others' pain as if it were their own, and who often put others before themselves. Psychologists describe empaths as those with high emotional intelligence, deep empathy, and an almost intuitive ability to sense the feelings of those around them. These individuals are not just kind. They are wired to connect emotionally in ways that most people aren't. That's what makes them so attractive to narcissists in the first place. Narcissists are drawn to empaths like moths to a flame. They recognize the depth of feeling, the need to help, and the willingness to forgive, and they exploit it relentlessly. They gaslight them, they guilt, trip them, they manipulate their kindness into weakness, they twist their love into control, and for a long time, the empath stays. Why? Because they believe in healing, they believe in redemption, they believe that if they love deeply enough, if they listen long enough, if they try hard enough, they can change the narcissist. But what most people don't realize is that this belief doesn't last forever. Eventually, the empath sees the truth. The lies no longer fool them. The manipulation no longer works. The guilt trips fall flat. The charm no longer blinds them. And when that moment comes, when the veil lifts and the empath realizes he has been living inside a carefully constructed illusion, he changes. He doesn't lash out immediately. He doesn't scream or cry. He doesn't retaliate in obvious ways. Instead, he does something far more powerful. He stops reacting. He stops explaining. He stops begging for understanding. And that silence, that absence of emotion, that refusal to engage, that's where the real damage begins for the narcissist. Because narcissists thrive on attention. Even negative attention fuels them. But indifference, emotional detachment, that's like cutting off their oxygen. And when the empath chooses that path, not out of hatred, but out of self-preservation, that's when the narcissist begins to panic. 1. The empath stops seeing the narcissist as a victim and starts seeing him as a predator. You might have thought that your compassion could heal the narcissist. You thought, I see their wounds, their brokenness, their deep-seated insecurities, and I can help them. You believed that your love, patience, and understanding could somehow transform the narcissist into a better person. This mindset is common, especially among empaths, people who often grew up in environments where taking care of others was part of survival. They are the rescuer types, constantly putting the needs of others before their own, believing that if they can give enough love, they can save someone lost in their own pain. But here's the reality you need to face. At some point, you will realize the truth. No matter how much you give, no matter how hard you try, the narcissist doesn't want healing. They want control. They want to manipulate your empathy, use it as a tool to keep you bound to their whims. When that moment hits, when you see through the illusion, everything changes. You stop seeing the narcissist as the victim. You stop viewing them as the wounded soul that just needs saving. You see them for what they truly are, a predator, a manipulator, someone who chose to hurt rather than heal. Don't be fooled any longer. The empath's biggest mistake is underestimating the true nature of the narcissist. You might have been kind, patient, and understanding, but these traits are exactly what the narcissist thrives on. They see your empathy not as a gift, but as a weapon they can use to control you, to exploit you, and to drain you dry. This realization is not just a wake, up call, it's a turning point. Once you see the narcissist for who they really are, you can no longer stay in denial. You can no longer pretend that your kindness will heal them. That's when the shift happens. The empath stops seeing the narcissist as someone to be fixed. Instead, they realize they've been manipulated by someone who is capable of cruelty, who deliberately uses their empathy to keep them locked in a toxic cycle. That's the power of understanding the narcissist for who they are. Not a broken person needing saving, but a predator preying on the empathetic, the kind-hearted, the ones who have been conditioned to give. So what do you do once you realize the truth? You need to stop investing your time and energy into someone who isn't interested in growth or healing. You must stop trying to fix the unfixable. You must stop being the one who always gives. It's time to protect yourself and your own emotional well-being. Realize that the narcissist has made their choices. They have chosen manipulation over connection, cruelty over kindness, destruction over healing. And you? You must choose to protect your peace, to set boundaries, to stop enabling their toxic behavior. You have the power to walk away, to say no more. Let's be clear, the narcissist will not change. Their wounds will never be healed by your love or compassion because they are not seeking healing. They are seeking power. So don't waste another moment thinking that you can fix them. You can't. The most you can do is protect yourself and take a step back. The shift happens when the empath realizes that trying to help the narcissist is not only futile, but destructive. The empath must take care of themselves. This is where the true power lies. Take your energy back. You are not here to fix anyone who doesn't want to be fixed. And that's the hard truth. You must protect your own well-being and stop giving your soul to someone who never asked for healing in the first place. 2. The empath stops feeding the narcissist's ego, and that terrifies them. The empath's emotional withdrawal, more than just silence. A narcissist thrives on admiration, praise, attention, validation. It's their daily bread. They don't just want compliments. They need them. They hunger for emotional reactions, good or bad, to prove that they still matter. And they've trained themselves to exploit anyone who's emotionally available, especially empaths. But what happens when the empath stops feeding the narcissist's ego? What happens when the empath finally puts down the plate, walks away from the table, and refuses to serve the narcissist's insatiable hunger for attention? It terrifies the narcissist. You see, the empath doesn't have to scream, shout, or even engage in an argument to make the narcissist feel small. In fact, the empath does the opposite. They simply withdraw. They stop explaining themselves, justifying their actions, or defending their feelings. Instead, they implement strong boundaries, ones that become so thick they might as well be made of stone. No more endless conversations, no more apologies for something they didn't do, no more bending over backward to make things better. They've chosen to be at peace. This isn't cruelty. It's the embodiment of Stoicism, the very essence of practical Stoicism, the ability to endure hardship, to find peace within oneself, no matter the external chaos. The empath isn't cold. They're calculating, cool, headed, and wise enough to know that continuing to feed the narcissist only makes them stronger. Why the narcissist fears silence more than hate. For the narcissist, the absence of attention is a fate worse than rejection. They can take being hated, they can handle being challenged or exposed even, but being ignored? That is their true downfall. The narcissist thrives on being relevant, on feeling admired, on knowing that their actions provoke a reaction, even if it's negative. To not matter, to be forgotten, that is the ultimate humiliation for them. And when the empath truly gets angry, when they decide they've had enough, they stop providing that validation. They stop offering that emotional fuel. They refuse to engage with someone who has made it their life's work to manipulate and dominate. For the narcissist, this silence feels like the earth has swallowed them whole. They are left with nothing to feed on. The walls they've built to keep people in line have suddenly come crashing down, and now they face an empty void. The empath has taken back their power. The narcissist is irrelevant. This is where the paths of wisdom truly show their worth. The empath has learned that power doesn't always lie in confrontation. Sometimes the strongest form of power is knowing when to step back, to refuse to play the game. This, in itself, is a lesson in practical stoicism, mastering one's emotions and actions without being dragged into endless battles that lead nowhere. The art of setting boundaries. In the world of the empath and the narcissist, the empath knows that boundaries are everything. Setting boundaries is not an act of cruelty, it's an act of self-preservation. It's the only way the empath can protect themselves from the narcissist's manipulations. By refusing to engage, by drawing the line in the sand, the empath sends a message that cannot be ignored. Boundaries aren't about being distant. They're about being firm, strong, and clear. The empath has learned that the more they give the narcissist, the more they drain themselves. The more they sacrifice for the narcissist's ego, the further they slip into exhaustion. But when the empath learns to step back and say, "I won't be your emotional punching bag anymore," they begin to reclaim their life. The narcissist will not understand it at first. They will rage. They will accuse. They will try to reel the empath back in with their usual tricks. But the empath's response is simple. No more. No more emotional manipulation. No more false promises. The narcissist's power is rooted in the empath's emotional reactions. When those reactions stop, the narcissist's world begins to crumble. The empath's silence becomes their greatest strength. So, let this be the takeaway. Don't feed into the narcissist's games. Stop validating their every move. Stop justifying your feelings. Instead, practice the wisdom of the Stoics. Remain calm, strong, and emotionally independent. Set your boundaries, and don't apologize for them. When you stop giving the narcissist the attention they crave, you will realize the power of your own silence. And trust me, it will be more effective than any argument, any confrontation, or any attempt at reconciliation. The narcissist's greatest weapon is your emotional response. Take it away, and they become powerless. This is the way of the empath. This is the path of wisdom. And this is the art of stoicism at its finest. 3. The empath begins to expose the truth, and does so with quiet precision. When an empath faces the brutal reality of a narcissist's true nature, something remarkable happens. The empath, once silent and protective, awakens to the truth with a quiet, unflinching precision. For so long, the empath may have shielded the narcissist, swallowed their discomfort, and allowed the cycle of manipulation to continue. But no more. The empath no longer feels the need to maintain the illusion of the narcissist's image. The illusion crumbles under the weight of truth, and the empath speaks not out of anger or vengeance, but from a place of clarity. He doesn't seek to destroy, he seeks to protect. He warns others. He shares his story, carefully outlining the red flags, the patterns of manipulation, the emotional traps that kept him trapped for so long. This is where the empath's cruelty, though not malicious, is most visible. It is the precision of his words, the calm dismantling of the narcissist's facade that can be so powerful. Unlike the narcissist, the empath has witnessed the destructive behavior up close. He has felt it in his core. Every insult, every manipulation, every gaslighting attempt. And now, he uses that deep knowledge to expose the truth. In doing so, the empath becomes a force that cannot be ignored. He is a mirror that reflects the narcissist's lies back at them, a mirror the narcissist can no longer break. This is the power of an empath armed with knowledge, wielding truth not to attack, but to protect. The empath recognizes that the only way to stop the cycle is to expose the truth. It is his responsibility to bring the darkness into the light. In the face of such cruelty, we must not forget the wisdom of Epictetus, who said, "It is not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." The empath does not fall into the trap of revenge. Instead, he masters himself. He understands that just as Stoicism teaches, it is not the actions of others that define us, but our response to them. The empath's quiet strength, his unwavering commitment to truth, is the embodiment of Stoicism. He understands that power lies in his ability to control his emotions and reactions, not in reacting with anger or malice. Stoicism teaches us to endure with grace, to accept what cannot be changed, and to use our energy wisely. The empath learns this lesson well. He doesn't waste his time in vengeance. Instead, he uses his knowledge of the narcissist's behavior to protect others, to warn them of the dangers that lie ahead. He doesn't shout or rant. He speaks with conviction, with the calm authority of someone who has lived through the storm and come out stronger. His words are sharp, like a blade cutting through the lies, and though they may be perceived as cruel, they are actually an act of mercy. By revealing the truth, the empath offers others the chance to free themselves from the grip of the narcissist's manipulation. You must understand this. The empath does not engage in petty revenge. He doesn't need to. His strength lies in his knowledge and his ability to expose the truth. He is the one who masters his emotions, who remains calm even in the face of betrayal. Like Epictetus, he understands that the only thing we control is how we respond. His response is not to retaliate, but to share his experience. The empath is not angry. He is determined. His words carry weight, his message is clear, and he speaks with the authority of someone who has seen through the lies. In modern life, this means taking responsibility for your own actions, your own choices, and your own power. Don't allow the narcissist to control your emotions. Don't let their behavior dictate your response. Like Epictetus said, "No man is free who is not master of himself." You must master yourself. Your response is yours alone to control. Be like the empath. Speak the truth. Expose the lies. Protect those around you. Let the narcissist be exposed for what he truly is. This is how you win. This is how you break the cycle. This is how you master life. Stoicism teaches us that true strength comes from within, not from reacting to the actions of others. Take control, speak your truth, and let the power of knowledge guide you to victory. If you find today's content useful to you, don't forget to share your feelings and lessons with us, or simply comment, "Very cool." It's a great encouragement for our channel makers. Thank you very much. 4. The empath refuses to play the narcissist's games, even when provoked. The truth is, empaths possess a power that is often underestimated, one that, when unleashed, becomes terrifying to the narcissist. They don't just react to manipulation, they see it. They feel it in their core. And when an empath recognizes the game, it's game over for the narcissist. When provoked, a narcissist will try anything to regain control, knowing that losing it is like losing their very sense of self. But here's where the empath shows their true strength. They refuse to play along. That's right. When a narcissist tries to pull the familiar strings, trying to drag the empath back into the emotional chaos with hoovering tactics, false apologies, and grandiose promises of change, the empath doesn't fall for it. They don't give in to the drama, the manipulation, or the lies. Instead, they walk away. And when they do, it's not just a walk. It's a march to freedom. The narcissist, desperate to keep control, will often try to make a grand gesture, something that screams, "I've changed," But the awakened empath, they know better. They see through the facade. They've been through it before, and they will not be tricked again. There's no pity, no second guessing. The apology is nothing but a mask. It's a dance they've done too many times to fall for it again. The empath recognizes that this isn't a real apology. It's just another manipulation, a trap to keep them entangled in the narcissist's web. And this is where things shift. Psychologists point out that this stage in the empath's journey is critical. It's the moment of a transformation. The empath transitions from being a victim to becoming a survivor. They move from confusion and doubt to clarity and strength. The emotional entanglement that once held them hostage is severed. The empath no longer seeks validation or approval from the narcissist. Instead, they detach completely. And let me tell you, that detachment, it's not just a mere change, it's an emotional exodus. It's the moment the empath breaks free and takes back the power that was once surrendered. It's painful for the narcissist because they can no longer control the empath. This is the moment the narcissist faces the destruction of their own illusions. It's devastating for them because they know that without control, they have nothing. They can no longer feed off the empath's energy, their emotions, or their kindness. The empath's silence becomes the ultimate punishment. The narcissist's world begins to crumble, and all the grand gestures and fake apologies in the world can't change it. To the narcissist, this rejection is a blow to their ego that they cannot recover from. It's a reminder of their own powerlessness, their inability to manipulate someone who has finally seen through them. It's a cruelty that is only amplified by the silence that follows. And the empath? They have moved on, leaving the narcissist to flounder in their own mess. You must understand that this detachment isn't a weakness, it's strength. It's not about punishing the narcissist, it's about taking back control of your life and mind. That is the true power of the empath. 5. The empath reveals the narcissist's secrets, not out of spite, but out of necessity. But let's be clear from the start, this cruelty is not born out of spite. It's born out of necessity. The empath, armed with the wisdom of Stoic rules and a deep understanding of human nature, does what others might never dare to do. He exposes the truth. One of the most misunderstood aspects of the empath-narcissist dynamic is the role of secrecy. Narcissists thrive in the shadows, cloaked in the illusion of charm, deception, and the endless weave of false narratives they spin to control others. These false facades are their lifeblood. But once the empath wakes up, when he finally sees through the layers of lies, he can't play along anymore. He can't remain silent. He knows he must act. This is where the Stoic rules come into play. The true Stoic does not shy away from the hard truth. He knows that silence in the face of injustice is not a virtue, but a betrayal of his own soul. The empath, in his most awakened state, embodies this Stoic wisdom by calling out the narcissist's deception for what it is. He starts revealing secrets, not to destroy lives, not to feed some petty need for revenge, but because it is the right thing to do. The empath's exposure of these secrets is a safeguard for others, a shield against future harm. He isn't tearing down a narcissist just for the joy of it. He is protecting those who are vulnerable to the same fate. And while some may call this act cruel or vindictive, those who understand practical stoicism and the paths of wisdom know better. What the empath is doing is not cruelty, it's protection. Imagine this. The narcissist, once untouchable, suddenly finds himself exposed. His lies no longer have the power they once did. His false narrative crumbles under the weight of the truth. The empath's words aren't just painful, they're necessary. Like the sage who cuts away the dead wood to make way for new growth, the empath removes the toxic elements that threaten to infect others. Be clear about this. The empath is not driven by malice. He is motivated by a deeper sense of justice, a profound desire to spare others from the misery he endured. In fact, this is the essence of Stoic wisdom, to endure suffering but never to allow it to destroy your soul. Instead, the empath uses that suffering as fuel for a higher purpose, to prevent others from falling into the same trap. The narcissist, on the other hand, has no such ethical compass. His cruelty is often quiet, passive, aggressive, hidden behind a mask of charm and manipulation. But the empath's cruelty, when it comes, hits with a force that cannot be ignored. It is sharp, it is direct, and it is necessary. It is the wisdom of ages, the paths of wisdom brought to bear on a world that often chooses to look the other way. So don't mistake the empath's actions for revenge. He is not seeking to destroy the narcissist. No, he is seeking to protect the innocent, to shine a light on the darkness. And in doing so, he reveals just how powerful practical stoicism can be when wielded by someone with the courage to speak the truth. The narcissist's secrets are no longer hidden in the shadows. They are exposed, and in that exposure, the empath has already won. If you find this valuable, comment below, and share it with someone who could benefit. Don't forget to subscribe for more wisdom. Comment to remember. I protect my peace and expose the truth when necessary. 6. The empath sets boundaries so firm that the narcissist has no way back in. An empath, when faced with the manipulative forces of a narcissist, reaches a point where they must take control of their own life. It's not just about setting boundaries. It's about creating walls that are impenetrable. These boundaries are a direct threat to a narcissist's ability to manipulate, deceive, and dominate. When an empath learns to set these boundaries without exception, they flip the script entirely. They stop answering calls. They stop responding to messages. They refuse to defend themselves against distorted realities or attempt to rewrite their personal history. From the outside, this may appear cold, detached, or even ruthless. But in truth, it is the ultimate act of self-preservation. The empath, like a warrior, has chosen peace over chaos, truth over illusion, and freedom over the toxic grip of control. As the great Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." The narcissist thrives on conflict, on confusion, on emotional volatility. They cannot survive without control, without the emotional puppetry they play so well. But once the empath establishes these impenetrable boundaries, they break free. They regain their peace, their sense of self, and most importantly, they win. Stoicism teaches us that we cannot control what others do, but we can absolutely control our responses. The narcissist's anger or frustration is their problem, not the empath's. And so, the empath's calmness in the face of this chaos becomes a powerful weapon. You must understand this. Setting these boundaries isn't a sign of weakness. It's a powerful display of strength. It is taking back control of your life. It is a victory. Don't allow anyone to invade your space, to manipulate your reality. You are in charge of your own peace. You must embrace the Stoic wisdom of Epictetus and others who have walked this path before you. You must realize that your tranquility is non-negotiable, and once you make that decision, you become invincible. No one, especially not a narcissist, can take away your peace unless you allow it. So stand firm, set those boundaries, embrace the Stoic philosophy, win your life back, and remember, it's your choice to live free from control, and that is the true victory. 7. The empath stops carrying the narcissist's emotional burden, and that leaves the narcissist exposed. An empath, when faced with the manipulative forces of a narcissist, reaches a point where they must take control of their own life. It's not just about setting boundaries, it's about creating walls that are impenetrable. These boundaries are a direct threat to a narcissist's ability to manipulate, deceive, and dominate. When an empath learns to set these boundaries without exception, they flip the script entirely. They stop answering calls, they stop responding to messages, they refuse to defend themselves against distorted realities or attempt to rewrite their personal history. From the outside, this may appear cold, detached, or even ruthless, but in truth, it is the ultimate act of self-preservation. The empath, like a warrior, has chosen peace over chaos, truth over illusion, and freedom over the toxic grip of control. As the great Stoic philosopher Epictetus once said, "It's not what happens to you, but how you react to it that matters." The narcissist thrives on conflict, on confusion, on emotional volatility. They cannot survive without control, without the emotional puppetry they play so well. But once the empath establishes these impenetrable boundaries, they break free. They regain their peace, their sense of self, and most importantly, they win. Stoicism teaches us that we cannot control what others do, but we can absolutely control our responses. The narcissist's anger or frustration is their problem, not the empath's. And so, the empath's calmness in the face of this chaos becomes a powerful weapon. You must understand this. Setting these boundaries isn't a sign of weakness. It's a powerful display of strength. It is taking back control of your life. It is a victory. Don't allow anyone to invade your space, to manipulate your reality. You are in charge of your own peace. You must embrace the stoic wisdom of Epictetus and others who have walked this path before you. You must realize that your tranquility is non-negotiable. And once you make that decision, you become invincible. No one, especially not a narcissist, can take away your peace unless you allow it. So stand firm, set those boundaries, embrace the Stoic philosophy, win your life back. And remember, it's your choice to live free from control, and that is the true victory. If you've ever felt the weight of someone else's emotional baggage, you know the power of stepping back. When the empath awakens, they stop carrying the narcissist's burden, and the shift is devastating. The narcissist is left exposed, struggling to face their own demons. If you believe in the power of reclaiming your peace, drop a comment now. I no longer carry their weight. Like this video, subscribe for more unshakable wisdom, and remember, strength lies in knowing when to walk away. 8. The empath no longer validates the narcissist's reality, and that breaks the illusion. When an empath decides to stop validating a narcissist's reality, it's like a sudden, thunderous storm shattering the calm surface of a lake. The narcissist, who has spent so much time constructing a distorted world, can no longer rely on the empath to mirror their warped beliefs. They can't depend on the empath to play their role, agreeing with every twisted interpretation and reflecting back the narcissist's preferred reality. That's when the illusion begins to crumble. The narcissist's world starts to dissolve, and without that crucial reflection, their self-image becomes increasingly unstable. For far too long, the empath has allowed themselves to be rewritten as the villain in the narcissist's narrative. They've been forced to accept blame for things they didn't do, to apologize for offenses they didn't commit, and to serve as a constant scapegoat. That's where the true cruelty of the empath comes into play when they're angry. It's not the sudden outburst of rage you might expect. It's the quiet, firm refusal to participate. The empath's silence can be far more devastating than a shouting match. Why? Because it challenges everything the narcissist depends on to fuel their fragile ego. Remember this, narcissists thrive on validation. They need others to reinforce their worldviews, to provide the constant stream of attention, admiration, and agreement that keeps their inflated sense of self intact. But when the empath stops feeding this need, it leaves the narcissist floundering, struggling to maintain the illusion they've so carefully constructed. They're like a house of cards that starts to collapse, one card at a time, until nothing remains but a pile of broken ego. The empath, having learned the Stoic rules of inner strength, knows that validating the narcissist's reality is a fool's game. Practical Stoicism teaches us that we must not be swayed by the illusions of others. We must remain anchored in our own truth, regardless of the storms others try to create around us. When the empath refuses to play the game, they no longer buy into the false narrative. They reclaim their power, and in doing so, they deliver a silent blow far more powerful than any angry confrontation. Here's where the Stoic wisdom truly applies. You must hold your ground. You must not allow others to twist your reality. A narcissist can only control you if you let them. They need your compliance to feel superior, to feel in control. The moment you stop validating their version of events, they lose their grip. The empath becomes an unshakable force, and the narcissist becomes exposed, vulnerable, and desperate. The illusion breaks down, piece by piece, as the empath stops engaging in the dance of validation. The narcissist is forced to face the reality they've avoided for so long, and that reality is crushing. Their world, built on lies, crumbles in the face of truth. The empath, guided by Stoic principles, knows that sometimes the most powerful response to cruelty is simply to stop participating. In that silence, the narcissist's world begins to fall apart. This is the moment of truth. Be the force that refuses to participate in the false narrative. Be the one who does not bend to the narcissist's will. That is the true power of an empath. It is not in loud protests or emotional outbursts, but in the quiet, resolute refusal to validate a twisted reality. The narcissist is left to face their broken illusion, and that is when the true healing begins. 9. The empath becomes emotionally unavailable, and that drives the narcissist to desperation. When an empath turns emotionally unavailable, it's a devastating blow to a narcissist. Narcissists thrive on emotional validation, constantly seeking attention, admiration, and reactions from those around them. For years, the empath unknowingly fed this addiction through emotional responses, concern, sadness, anger, and even the desire to fix things. But when the empath, armed with the wisdom of old Stoic teachings like those of Epictetus, decides to cut off this emotional fuel, the narcissist is left in despair. This abrupt emotional withdrawal leaves the narcissist standing on the edge of an abyss, no longer able to provoke a reaction, no longer able to manipulate, and, most painfully, no longer in control. The very person who had the ability to trigger their emotional responses is gone, and the narcissist is left to face a cold, unyielding silence. This is where the Stoic wisdom of Epictetus shines through. He teaches us to control what we can, our reactions, our emotions, and to understand that external chaos can't rattle us unless we let it. The narcissist's desperation in the face of the empath's silence is a powerful lesson. When you withdraw emotional access, you take away their power to control you. You become untouchable. This is the essence of Stoicism, maintaining control of your emotions and actions, regardless of the external pressures. The narcissist, whose entire existence relies on manipulating others for emotional fuel, crumbles when they no longer have a source to feed off of. So, remember this. In moments of emotional volatility, when a narcissist pushes and pulls for a reaction, you must stay firm. You must master yourself, master your emotions, and refuse to give in to the chaos. Don't be afraid to cut off the emotional access. Don't be afraid to stay silent. Let them panic. Let them spiral. You hold the power now. In a world filled with emotional manipulation, embracing the power of Stoicism is how you win. You are in control. You are the one who holds the key to your peace, your emotional freedom. Take it. Embrace it. And remember the wisdom of Epictetus. We are not disturbed by things, but by the views we take of them. When you stop giving the narcissist the emotional fuel they crave, you gain control. And that, my friends, is how you win. If you've reached this point, you understand the devastating power of emotional detachment. The empath who finally breaks free from the narcissist's control becomes their worst nightmare. No reaction, no validation, just emptiness. Please comment below with, "I am no longer a source of fuel for the narcissist." This is your step toward reclaiming your power. 10. The empath finds peace. The empath's quiet liberation is the final, most devastating blow to a narcissist's fragile ego. You see, the cruelest thing an empath can do to a narcissist isn't to lash out with venom or unleash a storm of anger, but simply to heal and find peace. The empath who once lived in chaos, manipulated into believing they were weak, broken or incomplete without the narcissist, now finds joy, strength, and independence, all without the toxic presence of the narcissist. This is not about seeking revenge or proving a point, but about reclaiming autonomy and self-worth, choosing a life free from manipulation. When the empath rebuilds their life, finds happiness, and flourishes without bitterness or retaliation, it is a living testament to everything the narcissist failed to convince them of, that they were never truly needed, never truly broken, and that the narcissist's hold on them was nothing but a mirage. The narcissist's worst fear is now realized. They were never the center of the empath's world, never loved for who they were, and their influence over the empath was always far less potent than they imagined. Now the empath is no longer tethered by the narcissist's words, their games, or their manipulations. The empath's energy is no longer drained, their mind no longer occupied by thoughts of them. They no longer allow the narcissist to rent space in their head. And this emotional detachment is the ultimate form of release. You must understand this. The empath does not fight back with rage, cruelty, or malice. No, their strength is found in clarity and unyielding detachment. The empath's response to the narcissist's games is not retaliation, but a peaceful rejection of the toxicity. They stop pouring energy into those who abuse it, stop forgiving those who never apologize, and stop loving those who only bring destruction. It is through this deliberate and firm withdrawal that they break the cycle, putting an end to the toxic dynamic once and for all. The empath who once gave everything to the narcissist now gives nothing, and that, dear reader, is the cruelest fate a narcissist can endure. To the narcissist, the silence is deafening, the absence of power and control devastating. They are left alone with the crushing reality that their manipulative grip has slipped away, and the empath, in their quiet strength, walks away not with bitterness, but with the kind of freedom that only comes from true healing. That is the final victory, and that is the most painful cruelty of all. Thank you so much for watching this video. I hope you found this insight into the empath-narcissist dynamic helpful and enlightening. Remember, empaths are incredibly strong, and their true power comes from setting healthy boundaries and reclaiming their peace, not from engaging in cycles of manipulation and hurt. If you're dealing with a narcissist or any toxic relationship, my advice to you is simple. Trust your intuition. The moment you see the truth clearly, that's your time to step back and protect your energy. Never forget, your compassion is not a weakness, and it's okay to choose yourself over anyone else's emotional games. Keep moving forward with strength and confidence. You're not alone, and you have the power to heal, grow, and create a life that serves your well-being. Thanks again for being here, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more content like this. Stay strong, take care of yourself, and I'll see you in the next one.